You are now listening to What's a Podcast with Brendan Kennedy and C.B. Wilkins.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for downloading this week's episode of What's a Podcast. I'm Brendan Kennedy. Sitting next to me, as always, is CB. What's up, CB?
Do you intentionally reference Wayne's World when you do that, or you just accidentally reference it?
It's accidental.
Okay. Sitting with me, as always, is Garth. Say hello, Garth. Hello, Garth.
This week, the idea kind of came to me because Veterans Day. I figured get a veteran on, and so I have a veteran in my family. I figured I'd invite my dad over. How's it going, Dad?
Oh, it's going very good.
Good.
It's just peachy keen to be here.
So
is this like an interview like on Johnny Carson, or is there a specific topic or reason, or?
I'm going to ask you questions about your life, and you can answer them or call me stupid.
Oh, and elaborate on them, or just yes or no answers?
Yeah. That would be really good listening. He's like, so you served in Vietnam? Yes.
There was a...
You're like having Holly on again.
I think it was Richard Holden was on Johnny Carson one night before he died. Well, Burt Lancaster, I'm not sure. And he came out, he was drinking, and Johnny Carson asked him all these questions. You know, and there were obviously questions that he should elaborate on.
Yeah.
And he just gave yes and no answers.
It's the worst. It's so rough when that happens.
Yeah.
So how old are you now?
I'll be 67 Christmas Day.
Wow. Okay.
1946.
So you're obviously from Tennessee.
Yes. Southern Tennessee.
Yeah. No, New York City, born there.
Queens, Flushing Hospital.
You were the second of 10, right?
Yeah, second of 10.
Jeez.
8 of us still alive.
Yeah, I think it's just like that. There's some kind of like weird Irish Catholic like theory where they're just like, not all of these will live. So,
well, the idea I think of people having big families in Ireland was to, well, of course, the Catholic Church had a big part in it, but it was to help on the farm.
Right.
Same thing, I guess, no matter where you go.
Right.
You know.
Well, yeah, I guess you need as many hands as you can get doing stuff now. Like,
yeah, I don't know how many hands we needed in the house we were living in.
I mean, how many bedrooms were there? Because I remember there was the house that Grandma lived in for the long time, and I guess was there another house that you guys lived in too, or?
Well, we lived in Jackson Heights, which was a 2-family house, and
okay,
I think it was just me, Vincent, and Michael that were there. We moved out to the country, which was Flushing, and that was a 4-bedroom house.
Okay.
And my mother and father were in one room.
Talk into the mic a little bit more.
Mother and father were in one room, 2 sisters in the other room, and then 3 boys in the one bedroom, 3 oldest, and the 5 youngest boys in the other bedroom.
Oh, wow.
It was all bunk beds.
So, I mean, like, your parents, like, oh, I guess my grandparents is like, I mean, you hear a lot of people about like people doing like helicopter parenting now, where they don't like let their children like go and be themselves. They just like hover over them constantly. Like, were your parents that, or was it just kind of like, don't kill each other?
Times were different then with going out. We could go out in the summer. We would go out in the morning,
right,
and come home for lunch or dinner, and then go out again.
Okay,
you know. I'm just speaking again from what was normal for me.
Right.
There were 10 kids in the house, 1 bathroom. So if you weren't up first, and my mother was overwhelmed with housework and kids, she was literally barefoot and pregnant for most of her life.
Oh, wow.
So if you got up there wasn't a dry towel, you had to use the towel. And if you were the last one to take a shower, the towel was soaking wet.
Oh, God.
You know. But it was everything that you grew up with, so it was normal.
Right.
You know, I guess theoretically, by today's standards, we'd be considered poor, but, I guess we were too. You know, but we always ate. My mother used to get a chicken, boil it, and pick every piece of meat off with it, and throw a thing of rice in with it, and a loaf of bread.
I think a lot of like really good cooking though kind of comes out of that tradition of like maybe not being like super rich and just kind of looking at food and saying like, all right, I have X many mouths to feed. Yeah. I got to do something with this.
Well, I think that's during the Depression, a lot of it
Right.
People had their home gardens, and during the Depression down here, that's why people eating raccoon and whatever else, and possum. I don't think they had much of a choice. That was all they had.
Right. So, I mean, did you talk? I never got to meet, I guess, my great grandparents. So, what were they like?
My parents.
Yeah. Your grandparents. People are going to be listening to this and like drawing a chart, like, see what the fuck I'm talking about.
Out of my 4 grandparents, Chris Kennedy was from Ireland. He married a girl by the name of Whitney.
Okay.
Mary Whitney. And I don't know, I think she came from Manhattan, and my mother's parents were born, I think, in Manhattan too.
Okay.
Which, speaking to people, they like the Irish were really like the scum of the earth. They were like the bottom of the barrel.
Oh boy.
They would be the blacks of today.
Okay.
Or the equivalent of. And here's an interesting story that back in the days, 59th Street and above was where all the rich people lived. And below 59th Street was all the scum of the earth. Really. Like it was depicted in Gangs of New York.
Yeah. Okay.
It was much like that. And all the rich people lived uptown. And eventually they got a ferry over to Queens to College Point. And that was like the great Gatsby days.
All right.
And they would just leave they wanted to get away from the Irish. And
Jeez.
the city had somebody who was in charge of it. I've seen this, if you don't believe me, on PBS, the history of the Irish. And one guy wanted to solve the problem of all these Irish kids running at night, because the parents were evidently drunk in the day.
Jeez.
So they got him and put him on a train and headed the train west with all these kids that they just picked up off of the streets.
Oh wow.
And they stopped at all these towns, and they paraded the kids on through a church or the city hall, and the people would adopt them. Adopt them with legitimate reasons, or adopt them as slaves.
Wow.
Which was the way a lot of them were brought up.
So is Chris the one? Because I think you told me once that like you had a somebody in your family who owned a bar, and
He owned 3 at one time.
Wow.
And he was a steam fitter, and friends I grew up with, their father used to hang around in the bar, and they used to call him Chris the Drunk.
I like how we're breaking down all kinds of stereotypes here. It's like yeah.
Well, he would drink a quart of Canadian Club a day.
Oh my god.
At least.
Ugh.
And I remember as a young kid, even before I understood what being drunk was, having to go with my father on a Saturday morning to pick him up at the bar.
Oh man.
Because he'd be drunk. And they said you could always tell if he was really drunk or not, because when he laid down his head on the bar to sleep, if somebody ordered a drink and the guy didn't ring it up, he'd lift his head up.
So he's too drunk to stand, but not too drunk to do business.
That's how. Some of the Irish have a reputation of being really, really cheap.
Okay. See, CB is missing out on all this because he doesn't drink anything, so he doesn't know what that drinking a quart
I am part
of whiskey.
Irish.
Ah.
I guess.
You don't
Red
drink
beer.
at all?
No,
You
never have.
did?
No, sir.
You see, I'm an alcoholic. I've been sober for 6 years, and I used to do
Good.
everything.
Yeah.
You know, I tried everything, just about.
Right.
And
Brendan wouldn't know anything about that. The Brendan wouldn't know anything about that.
anything that he will say, anyway. No. I don't know how true that is.
I enjoy the occasional adult beverage.
Business shots.
That's oh god. All right, I'll tell you about this. All right, so one night I did a show over at that Seaboard place, and it went really well. And there was a guy who really enjoyed my jokes, and he's like, "Hey, let me buy you a drink." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure, okay." And then we're talking, and he's telling me how he owns a restaurant, and he wants to have comedy at his restaurant, and he starts like wanting to keep buying me drinks, and I don't want to like say no.
Was he gay or anything?
No. But he's and oh man, I've actually had that happen to me though one time. I'll tell you about that in a second. But
I don't want to hear about it.
no, but like eventually, like
No, his name was Keith. They dated for 3 years. It was nice. It was nice.
well, no, eventually I'm just like I drank too much and I couldn't drive home, and I was smart enough to let CB drive me home, or I asked him to. I didn't let him.
No, you forced me. you forced my hand by getting so pissed drunk I couldn't do anything else but drive you home.
CB, I'm gonna die if you don't drive me. The blood's on your hand. But so eventually CB's like, why did you drink so much? And I'm like, this is doing business.
So what was the outcome of it?
Nothing. He got super drunk. That was the outcome.
Was the guy just bullshitting? Or
I don't think he's
was it,
bullshitting, but he was probably just so drunk he forgot even meeting him.
Yeah.
Nah, I probably wouldn't have done
The
the
old
same thing
blackout.
over again.
Yeah.
Well, no, it was weird. One night I was at I did the show at the Tap House, and I did this joke about is a joke about the word faggot, and there was a gay guy there who really thought it was funny, and
He didn't take offense?
no. He found it really funny, and he's like, "Hey, you're really funny. Let me buy you a drink." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then he's talking to a friend of his who drank too much, and then he's like, "Okay, look, here's what we're gonna do. You come with me, and we're gonna drive her car home, and I'll drive you back." And I'm like,
Drive her car?
yeah. Basically, the idea was like I was gonna help this person like get somebody's car back to their home. But it just seemed really weird to do that with a stranger. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. That happened to me once up in Wolf of Arthur's. I was drinking there, quite a while. And these country boys come in, probably from Knott's Island.
Oh, okay.
So I go to the bathroom. I come back, and my cigarettes, lighter, and money was pushed up on the bar, like up on the lip of the bar, the ledge of the bar. It's usually you put if it's a tip, you know.
Huh.
So I go, what's this? You know, and the guy says, oh, we thought you were gone. But that was my seat, and there was 4 of them. They wanted 4 seats together. I said, that's bullshit. I said, how would you like it if I took you? And he had his cigarettes. I just flipped them. I said, how would you like if I did that? You know?
Yeah.
So then the barmaid came over, and for some reason or other, she liked me. I don't know. If it was her father's place, and he was a ex-SEAL. So she really ran the place with an iron fist.
Okay.
So nothing became of it. And then an hour or so later, this guy comes up to me and says, hey, buddy, we're going up to the oceanfront. Now, the oceanfront was maybe 3-4 miles from Wolf of Arthur's.
Right.
So why don't you come up and have a couple of drinks with us? I goes, nah. I says, I've been drinking, I don't want to drive. He says, oh, no. We're going to drive you. And no thanks.
Yeah. Oh, geez.
But it was one of those times when I should have kept my mouth shut.
Right. So
Talk too much.
now you grow up. You were, I guess, raised Catholic like a lot of Irish.
Yeah, we went
Americans
to Catholic grammar school.
you have to deal with nuns teaching you.
And you had to go to church every Sunday with your class. You had to wear the uniforms, and the nuns. Some of them were, like deserved the reputation that you get. Other ones were just. I don't know if they were frustrated women. Some of them apparently were lesbians.
Huh.
And some of them were just doing it because they were good people, trying to improve the world or whatever.
Right.
But there was one day I seen, and this woman, she was a young woman. She had the hairiest face I've ever seen. She could have been she could have been a wolf person.
Oh,
Was it my
man.
sister?
And Sister Loretta Gerard, and she was a tough cookie. So these 3 guys came. The one Sister Anna Melda came from and she's crying. She says, I can't take it. Of course, these 3 guys who later on in life ended up in jail, and they were junkies, and they ultimately overdosed. They were just
Terrible people.
bad seeds or whatever.
Yeah.
So she brings him in, and she says, kneel down, and she goes over to this guy, Stacy, give me your belt. And at that time, everybody wore a garrison belt, which was that's what they called them. about 1.5 inches thick with 2 inches of leather,
Oh man.
maybe 2 inches of leather,
Okay.
and a big belt buckle. So she took it up, and she told him, kneel down, and she says, "This is for the Trinity," which was the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost. And she's like, all the spittle's coming out of her mouth. And she takes the belt and whacks, full shot, left, boom,
Oh.
boom, 3 times to each of them in the face.
Holy
know.
crap.
And to this day, I'd never forget. I'd never see, I was a cop in New York City. I don't think I've ever seen a cop beat anybody like that. Mercifully, unmercifully as she did.
Right.
You know, it was
Jeez.
amazing. But that's probably the classic example that I could say of Catholic education, because she scared the shit out of me
I
and
can imagine.
everybody else.
Did anybody give her a hard time after that? Or
These guys didn't.
yeah.
You know, I don't even know if they made it out of grammar school.
Jeez.
One guy had a great potential. He was a terrific athlete, but he never went anywhere because he got hooked on drugs at a young age.
Huh.
And they all went to jail. They go to jail, they come out, rob something or steal something, go back to jail, till they finally came out. And it's amazing, the system. They'd all go in and clean up their act,
Yeah.
buff up, work out, and everything. And they came back and they were, legitimate. They were, sober, and they weren't like the typical nod and junkie. That's, I guess, how high they wanted to get.
Right.
And that went on for them until they died, which is, I don't know, late 20s, early 30s.
So I mean, I was gonna say, like, for you, like, you're in high school during like the middle of the 50s then, or late 50s, early 60s.
Grammar school.
No, but when did you get to high school?
Huh? Took me 5 years to get out of high school. I
Okay.
graduated in '65. That's because I went to Catholic high school for 1 year, and I was thrown out because my marks weren't good.
Okay. Did they have to? Did you have to pay for that?
Yeah, it was $300 a month back in 1960.
Holy crap!
Yeah,
I mean, like, I just imagine, like,
what
even
was it,
within
$300 a year? I'm not sure.
Okay.
Probably $300 a year.
but still, that's
And it was
your parents have like 10 kids.
Yeah, and it was subpar compared to public education. What was available?
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
They just wanted you to go because it was Catholic.
Well, yeah. Well, you went
Yeah.
for the discipline, and
Okay.
they had the brothers there, and they were just as vicious as that nun was.
Well, didn't you tell me, like, one time, like, one of the teachers, like, gave you a hard time over wearing, like, tight pants or something like that?
Oh, that was in high school. This guy was a gym teacher,
Yeah.
and at that time it was you wore your pants high and really tight,
I think that's back now. Everybody, you see a lot of people wearing skinny jeans again.
like skate. Yeah, but I'm not particularly endowed, but this guy got up and he says, "Look at him; he can see everything he has."
Oh, God.
And like really ridiculed me in front of the class. And it's not bad enough that I felt inferior to everybody because of my acne, and I had a terrible inferiority complex. And even this girl on the block, I think she liked me, and she would wait on the bus stop for me. You know, so like I would either go to another bus stop or walk to school, just to avoid any kind of.
So you that
Yeah.
nervous about girls, like, even the ones who are interested in you.
Well, then you went to Flushing High School.
Okay.
And if you did anything wrong, like I remember once sitting there, and the teacher was a brother, and he looked like he could have been a basketball player. And all of a sudden, he turns around and he flings this piece of chalk, and in the front they had like a metal compartment, and the chalk shattered right between my legs. And I go, "Oh shit, what did I do?" And he comes down and he beats the shit out of the guy behind me. So my brother went to Bishop Lachlan High School, and it was the Irish Christian Brothers. And there were big classes, maybe 50, 60 kids in a class. And nobody got out of line because...
You would get the shit kicked out of you.
yeah, my brother came home from school one day and said, "I don't believe what this brother did to
Oh, my God.
this guy." He says he beat the shit out of him, beat him to the ground, and the kid was real curled up in the fetal position under a desk, and the brother's coming over there and he's stomping them and kicking them.
You know, it's funny. People talk about, like, you know, we need to get back to the good old days. Or
No.
kids are over-coddled. Like, thank God. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
Now, when I was down here, I was. And we play ball, we play stick ball, we hide and seek, you know.
Right.
All good, clean fun.
Right.
You know, so, but when I got drafted, everybody got drafted, and like in the summer, you go to the public school, have different stuff to do, like wall ball, baseball, basketball, and the kids I knew from grammar school and the public school in the summer, by your age, you were drafted. And I remember we all went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and if you were born, like I was born December 25th, say from the beginning of December to the end of December, all the people I had grown up with were in that particular company. It was,
wow.
250, I must have known 100 of them. And then you went down, you know, it was like a row of barracks, maybe 8 barracks.
Right.
If my memory is right. Then you go down to the next row, and these guys were a month older than you.
Oh, okay.
And in 2 months, you know, they're
Okay.
taking that many people.
So, I mean, what was your impression with the Army? Was it as fun and lighthearted as Catholic school? Or, I mean,
It was...
was it a lot of people talk about the Army and they're like, you know, it gave me structure and it gave me all this, that, the other.
It's makes you grow up,
Okay.
and it's an experience that you'll never go through because you're never under those circumstances. If I could do it again and I go to Vietnam knowing that I wouldn't get hurt, I would do it.
Okay.
But it grows you up, it gives you independence, and you go to Vietnam, you have a gun with bullets, hand grenades, all this shit that, you
Right.
know, kids play with.
Right.
Because that's all you are.
Yeah.
And the military don't want anybody
Well,
older than that.
I do remember.
Because-
Well, I was gonna say. I think I read something that like part of the reason they want people in that age of like 18 to 20 something is that you haven't really fully come to like terms with the fact of your own mortality yet. And so a lot of people, you know, they'll go out there and it's like, okay, run into that field and just open fire. I'm invincible.
Well, everybody thinks they are.
Right.
And I remember that when I first got there, it was during the monsoons, and
So I mean, let me like, did you go to like an airport and you just walk out of like an
you got
airplane?
off of the airport like much the same it was in Platoon.
Were you like nervous on the way there? Like your stomach
Well,
all
it was
bubbly?
a
or-
24-hour ride on
Okay.
the plane. So you get off the thing and you go, and I landed in the Trang. That's where I was assigned, and that was called the French Riviera of the East. And you go down this boulevard, I forget what it was, and it'd be much like the ocean front, but the water was crystal clear.
Huh.
Crystal clear. And on the other side of the street were all these little big villas that the French stayed in. And you go into town, like I was only there 2 weeks. And you go into town, get your massage, whatever you want. Everything with a happy ending, or, you know. The Enlisted Man's
good
Club
times.
had the Vietnamese girls working in them.
Okay.
And you'd sit down and they'd bring you over a beer, and they had this gigantic bowl of shrimp in the middle that was for free. But the shrimp they were prawns, they weren't shrimp.
Right.
You know, it was, and then you went to the mess hall, you had barracks that you lived in, and, you know.
See, that sounds so interesting because like a lot of times,
let
like
me finish.
okay,
So 2 weeks later,
Okay.
they had this rotation thing where guys that were out in the field could put in for another place to go in Vietnam. So next thing you know, I'm getting transferred up to play coup d'essai. I didn't say what was there or anything. So I get off a fucking helicopter in this dusty landing strip, and you hear all boom, 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 all the artillery
oh
getting
my
off.
god,
And welcome to the 4th Infantry Division. You know. And I
That's-
just slept in tents there. But that was an experience in itself, too.
right? See, I was going to ask like because that sounds like a lot of times you think of like people who talk about Iraq, and I guess you know for some reason, I guess it's an alcohol-free area, so nobody. I guess well, just I guess when it first started, not a lot of people were able to like even get alcohol there. And the way you describe Vietnam when you first get there, it sounds almost like a nice resort. You know what I mean? Like,
it wasn't
the water's
Trang.
beautiful,
that was MACV, Military Assistance Command Vietnam.
Okay.
That's where that's where all the generals and big numbers stay. Now you go up up in Pleiku, all the line officers, which was colonel above, they had their own trailers.
Okay.
That was like a 30-foot trailer, and they had a nice mess hall, and we had to do KP for them. I was a military policeman.
What was your rank?
I was a private all the time I was there.
Okay.
I got 3 Article 15s, which is got to go before the captain. Sneaking into Sin City. It's stuff you did there, like, like for the punishment for that, like I had piss tubes. I mean,
what is a piss tube?
Piss tube is a artillery shell.
Okay.
When you bang out the bottom, it's about 36 inches long.
Okay.
6 inches wide. You dig a hole and you put rocks in it, and you stick the tube in there, put a piece of screen over it, and then you piss in there. It's like a dry well or whatever.
Okay.
So for my one Article 15, the punishment I had was to go around and take all the cigarette butts out of the piss tubes. So you didn't get a day off. The only day you got off was, again, it's in platoon. They show you the guy. They don't make reference to it. They're out smoking a joint.
Yeah.
And they're burning the shit. Well, go to the bathroom. You had the piss tube. You had these little outhouses that had 3 toilet seats on them, on a bench with the hole cut out, and then like a shelf, and then behind them was 3 55-gallon drums cut in half.
Oh, man.
So your job, and it was considered a day off, too. Your job was you had to fill it up with diesel fuel, stir it up, put some gasoline on top of it, light it, and then maybe later on in the day, if you did it, most guys didn't, do it conscientiously because there'd always be 3/4 of it full. And you had to stir it up all day in the heat.
Talk about like stirring the shit, though.
Yeah. But that was something interesting.
Now, you were like a military police guy. Did you, I guess you weren't like in the shit, as people say. Like, did you ever like get fired at? Did you ever hear any shells?
I stayed at the base camp.
Okay.
And, 3 months there, I did, I guarded the prisoners of war, which were the North Vietnamese troops, and it was very interesting because they could speak English, and they didn't want to be there either. They were drafted into the war, and they were held by the South Vietnamese, and the ones there was a plague over there, so they sent all the ones over to us that had lost a limb, and we used to have the Viet Cong there too.
Okay.
And the military intelligence.
No,
I don't want to go into.
Okay.
Talking about what they did.
Gotcha.
But when they got finished with them, we would put them in the back of a truck and drive them over to the South Vietnamese prisoner of war camp. So, I did a couple of times. A deuce and a half maybe get fit. It's a big 8-wheeled truck.
Right.
Really heavy-duty truck. And you put about 20, 30 people in, you take them over there, and they unload them, and that's it. So when we go there, I says to the guy I'm going over there with them, I says, I don't see any jails or cages. They used to call it a cage.
Okay.
Because they have, he says, the guy started laughing. He says, of course they don't. So what do they do with them? He said, what do you fucking think they do? They kill them.
Oh, man.
And these were the people that were picked up, interrogated, and then supposedly let go.
Right. Man.
But the prisoners of war used to stay in a tent with cots. They were treated pretty good. Okay. But we would have our own kind of mental stuff that we would do to them. Right. That I won't tell.
Okay.
But I'm ashamed of it.
Let me ask, is there do you kind of compartmentalize a little bit in your head? Because I imagine, everybody, when they're dealing with screwed up situations, they kind of have to like wrap their head around it differently. Like, okay,
yeah.
I'm just doing my job as an American, or you know what I mean? Like,
It was like being a cop up in New York City and seeing the way the cops are down here.
Okay.
Totally different. For instance, Friday I was in the park with Juliana, my granddaughter, your
Right.
niece.
right.
And I'm pushing on the swing, and all of a sudden this guy is standing next to me. Long hair, a T-shirt, and a pair of boxer shorts. And he's obviously high. So
Right.
you know. Then all of a sudden he falls down on the ground and he gets up. So I go over to him. I said, "You all right?" He goes, "No, I'm scared, man. I'm scared. You know, I'm really scared." I says, "Are you taking drugs?" He said, "What are you taking?" He mentioned something. I says, "Is that like LSD?" So he says, "Yeah." I says, "You want an ambulance?" He goes, "Yeah." I says, "Just stay here, calm. I'll stay here with you till the ambulance comes." So I call 911, and that's the way I would have handled it up in New York.
Right.
You know, you get the ambulance for the guy, take him over to Bellevue. No reason to be, you know, the guy wasn't violent.
Right.
He was scared shit because evidently he had taken more than he anticipated or took for the first time. So now the Virginia Beach cop drives by and I'm whistling and I'm waving to him and he keeps going, you know. So finally comes back and he gets out of the car. You fat little fuck, you know. So he gets out of the car, goes over to the guy. "What are you doing? What are you doing?" You know. Next thing you know, I look over, and he has a taser gun in his hand. Mm-hmm. This is like after about 30 seconds of. It wasn't enough time to appraise the situation.
Right.
So the guy takes off running again.
Of course.
Then
Because you got a taser aimed at you and you're high
he
out
could
of
see that. So then
Yeah.
he runs out into the street, and he just falls in the street again. So now the cop goes over, waddles over to him, puts his knee in his back and his head in the ground, and 3 other cars show
Oh,
up
of
and the
course.
sergeant. And they handcuff him, and then I left. But like you say, wrapping yourself around it. It's,
Yeah.
You know, up in New York and something like that. Here's a situation. It was May 1st, right? Well, the first day of spring.
Okay.
And I'm in Washington Square Park. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but it's like it's right in the middle of the campus of NYU.
Okay.
It's in the West Village. Mayor Koch used to live over there, and
Gotcha.
a lot of prestigious people. So I'm driving the sergeant out there, and this is on 8th Street. So we hear on the radio up on 34th Street that's a male naked walking down 5th Avenue. You know. God knows how many cops were between 34th and us, and it finally gets down to us. He's smoking a cigarette, and all he has on is socks. And he's happy. He says, "Son, what are you doing?" He says, "It's the first day of spring. Embrace it, enjoy it." So he says, Sarge says to me, "Get my raincoat out of the trunk, put him on, we'll take him over to Bellevue."
Right.
Took him over to Bellevue, and 3 or 4 hours later, he was back in the park with clothes on that they had given him and let him go. Because
Right.
he was harmless.
Yeah.
As this guy was, too.
Yeah.
You know, and you used to do things up there that... the cops down here, I'm not even going to comment on them.
Right.
So unprofessional.
Well, let me ask you. So, like, you got home from Vietnam, right? Is that I mean, like, that's got to be a huge relief for you. You know what I mean? When you're in
Yeah,
a
and a
war zone.
disappointment, too, because the first night I went out, I had my uniform on.
Right.
And, went down to the neighborhood bar where I hung out. And I figure I'm sure I'm going to score tonight, you know. But it was just the opposite.
Oh no!
So I never wore the uniform again. When I went out, I had a
I mean, you hear about because you watch movies and stuff, and people like yell at like soldiers like "baby killer" and
Yeah, when I was coming back from Washington,
yeah,
we had a few drinks in the bar waiting for the flight, and jet lag, and I fell asleep. I fell asleep on some woman's shoulder, and she like shrugged the shoulder and pushed me off.
oh,
You know. Now, I was in New York City once, and we used to get drunk, high, smoke some grass, go to the movies in Manhattan.
right,
And I'll never forget the movie I went to see was A Clockwork Orange, you know, which was a weird movie.
Yeah.
I'd never seen the whole thing. But I woke up, and I'm there, and I fell asleep on some older woman's shoulder.
Right.
So I go, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. So that's okay. Put your head back and go to sleep.
That's nice.
So the difference, the way people handle things.
So what made you want to become a police officer? Because like
It was just a job.
just a job.
Yeah, but my brother's, my father was an elevator mechanic. And he says, you want to be an elevator mechanic? I go, yeah. This is before I got drafted. When I first got out of high school. So I worked in an elevator. He says, you'll start at the bottom. This way you'll know everything.
But at least you get to go out to the top eventually.
No.
You're in an elevator.
Yeah. They always get the shaft, though. So I go over there.
Shell shock
Shell shocked, First World War.
Yeah.
Battle fatigue, Second World War. Something else for Vietnam and post PTSD.
Right.
And then there's a new labeling for it that doesn't sound as harsh.
Right.
But this community says, if a guy comes out and you look and you can tell he's shell shocked. So call it what it is.
Right.
But these guys have the tremendous violence when they come home.
Well, I heard
this is what I attribute it to. The same guys who went to Vietnam. I know I'm talking too much, but you take a guy that joins the army 18, 19 years old, and I can remember you get thrown in an environment where the weather feels different around you. You
Right.
know, the smell is a constant smell that you're not familiar with. The way that people dress are not, and they give you a gun and they tell you to go out there. And a lot of guys, like they say, the Viet Cong would always dress in black. So some guys went out. Black was the material that they made all the clothes out of, the farmers. And most of them were farmers.
right.
And some of these guys just shot them, killed them. Of course, they wore black.
Well, I think I saw a video the other day. It was a guy who was actually in jail, and he was an Iraq War vet, and it was really sad because basically, they would have I guess people go out on trips, and this guy was like awake for like 36 hours and gets into battle situations, and he realizes that he's starting to lose kind of like grip of reality, and when he comes back home, he's just kind of hyper vigilant, waiting for something to go down. He's like driving through the suburbs in the middle of the road, expecting an IED to go off, and
Yeah, that's what happens.
and then somebody I guess pulls a knife at a party that he's at, and he just goes nuts, pulls his gun out, and kind of clears the room, gets everybody on the ground, and then just, I guess, beats the guy nearly to death. And it's like, you get, I guess, if you're going to survive in a war, I think you really do have to kind of be ready to kill somebody. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's like a healthy state of mind for anybody
it's
to be
not.
in. And I don't know how they expect people to let that go. I mean, CB over here, he hates the veterans. But-
No, not at all. No, my dad was
No,
in
you're
Vietnam.
just so quiet. I just had to just giving you a hard time.
You don't like veterans?
I
No,
love
no,
that
I'm
dude.
just
He's
fucking with him.
Brendan, your son's just an asshole. That's all that is. You raised a real piece of shit. That's all that is.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
They all have something unique about them. Character defect.
So you
from their mother.
yeah. No, you became
No,
a,
but it puts you in that position.
Yeah.
And when I come a cop too, if somebody does something to you, I'm not taking the chance. Even today, I mean, I'm not physically. But if I were to get into an altercation with somebody, and I'd look to smash their head in with a brick, a 2x4,
yeah.
bite their nose off or whatever, because that's, you after having put in that situation a number of times, that's the way you react.
Right.
You kill, and I'm not saying I'm a killer, and I never killed, I never shot at anybody. Where I was staying, they mortared it and rocketed it a few times, but I was so drunk I slept through that. And Colin Powell was on one time, and they were saying to him, "Well, can't the army get together and kind of make these friends with the civilians and calm things down?" He says, "Listen, The Army is trained to destroy property and kill people. He says, we do a terrific job at that, and we can't do anything else.
Yeah.
We don't know how.
But you became a police officer, right?
Yeah.
23 years on...
Yeah.
What was it like when you first started? Because I guess you go through the police academy and then you...
Oh, I was nervous, and I was still withdrawn. I was still never really sure of myself. And I think it was because of the drinking.
Well, I mean, like I think you told me a story one time, like one of your first like beats that you got assigned to was that you're I guess like walking around and like some guys are hanging out at a Chinese food restaurant and they won't leave, or they don't want to pay their bill. Does this sound familiar at all?
And the real cop comes in.
Yeah, tell that.
Yeah, we're up in Harlem, and and they. I was assigned to the special events squad, which did special events or strikes, demonstrations.
That sounds so much less special, though, than the special victims unit. Like, they're solving sex crimes, and you're like, I'll make sure this parade goes well.
Parade duty, yeah. If there was nothing like that, then they put us, precinct commanders would ask for extra manpower, and it was always in the shit neighborhoods. So this Chinaman comes out one time, and he says, these guys won't leave. And he had it's a Chinese restaurant with maybe, I don't even think he had any booths. It was a small store. Maybe he had 12 stools, and they're all sitting there. And he says, they won't leave, And he said, we're eating something here. We're eating this, and they have a container of rice or egg roll or something, So, I didn't know, and I came in there with my partner. You don't know how to react. Now you try.
I just picture you like walking in, like wearing like your pants up to your belly, like, "Hey guys, could you please leave?"
So all of a sudden, the door opens up and this black guy comes in. Black is the ace of spades. Cop.
Right.
Big guy, looked like a football player.
Right.
And he has his nightstick and he, boom, boom. He says, somebody told me that you fucking niggas don't want to leave here. Jeez. And they all ran out the door. It was amazing. Amazing. The control that the guy had.
Right.
Respect that he demanded. He probably had some reputation.
Right.
There.
I mean, did you have like the balls to look him in the eye afterward, or did you just go like,
no.
Or just like,
what do you mean?
No, I'm just kidding around just because it sounds like he took control of the situation
he
so
knew.
much.
Another day up there, I'm standing on the corner with my new uniform. You could tell you're a rookie.
Right.
Because the uniforms were all handmade. You had to go to a tailor. They measured everything. So you looked young. You were young.
Right.
The uniform was brand new.
Right.
So I'm standing on the corner. These two black guys come by who look like thugs.
Okay.
And they go, rookie, huh? We'll be back for you later. We're gonna put a bullet in your fucking head.
Oh. How do you? What do you do there? Do you just kind of like take the nightstick and twirl it along? Nothing to see here.
See you then.
I was standing on the corner with my foot up on a lamppost.
Yeah.
After that, I went to the building and had my back against the wall.
Yeah. Right.
But again, that's all perception. The cops I know that worked up in Harlem all the time.
Right.
Had a different idea of what the people were.
Well, I think,
Because if you get in trouble up there, somebody calls for help for you, and it's not some white guy that just happens to pass by. It's one of the people that are stuck up there with not really much fault of their own.
Right.
And here's another story with being a rookie.
Okay.
Up on Broadway, around the corner from there, there's these brownstones, and somebody called because of bum laying in his doorstep, like a vestibule. Maybe it was 2 or 3 apartments in the one big building. So I go over, and the job went on over there, so I took it, and I didn't know that the 20th precinct cops were coming. So I go over there and I'm kicking the guy in the leg. Get up, you fuck! Get up! Get out of here! And I'm being really nasty to him, not hurting him or nothing. All of a sudden,
just insulting his clothes and.
No, he was a street person.
Right. Okay.
I've picked people up off of the street and pick them up to get them out of the gutter, and the clothes have been on so long, they just come off of my hand. They just disintegrate.
Oh man.
But this cop pulled me away, pushed me away, and he says, "What are you doing to the guy?" I says, "Well, you don't get out of here." He says, "Yeah." He says, "What is he? He's just drunk. He's not hurting anybody." He's that could be you in 20 years. You know, that gave me thought.
Yeah.
On my 20th anniversary, that's where I ended up. No, that's not true. But
I was saying, then the guy looked up and it was you, and you're like, oh god.
yeah,
And I hallucinated the whole thing.
yeah. And the first time I was exposed to a dead body, you know,
Oh, what do you mean? Like
Stein.
what?
Stein had dropped dead on a kitchen table, getting ready to go to a wedding.
Okay.
And an elderly woman, and she was sitting there in a bra and slip,
Oh.
you know.
So that you get somebody calls.
No, yes, the family came,
Right.
and they were all upset, as you
course.
could expect. He threw the cop I was with threw out the first time in a radio car.
Okay.
So this is to go show you how naive I was, how much you think you know, but you don't know anything. You
Right.
know? So I'll tell you this one incident, and then there was another one. So we put a blanket over her, and she's sitting in the chair like this chair here, straight down, head on the table.
Right.
So one of her daughters says, "What?" One of her daughters say, "Could you move her from here, please?" So the cop almost says, "Yeah," and he was a good cop, evidently.
Right.
So he says, "We'll do a chair carry, you know. You take the bottom part. When a chair carries, you lean it back and use it like a stretcher." He held
Okay.
the back of the chair, and I picked up the front legs.
Right.
We walked her into the bedroom, and 1, 2, threw her on the bed.
Right.
But when I come out, I had shit and urine all over my hands.
Oh God.
Because she had lost control when she died.
Wow.
You know,
Jeez.
so. Oh, and then the same night, then we get called to a burglary over there.
So I mean, like that happens, and does it ever happen? Like you just see something like so crazy, you can't just say like, "I'm done for the day." You know what I mean?
No.
Like, oh my God, that just blows. Like, you know,
That's where
because
you
I work retail, and if anybody,
That's where you get.
if I ever got poop,
that's where you get.
you know what I mean?
That's where you get the dark kind of sense of humor. This friend of mine worked up in Harlem, and he got called in there one time. A guy says, "He's what do you want us for?" And he says, "I shit the bed. I want you to change my sheets." You know. Another time, he went into this place and it was burglarized, but there was nothing there. You know, you got a light ball hanging from the thing
Yeah.
with a string, a couple of cans of dog food open, and shit all over the place. And they say somebody came in and took something from my house. I want you to dust the place for prints. So he's okay. He says, "You got any talcum powder here?" So he goes, "Yeah, over there in the bathroom." So he goes into the bathroom, takes the talcum powder and squirts it all over the apartment. He goes, "Well, no prints here." But they wouldn't have sent anybody anyway, because that's another thing with the crime up here and down there.
Yeah.
There's such a low rate of crime down here. And one of the reasons we moved down here was because it's supposedly one of the, at the time, one of the 10 best cities, lowest crime rate in the country for
Right.
the city its size.
So, I guess obviously, I'm here. How did you meet Mom?
In a bar, she
Okay.
came in. The bar was around the corner from the Flushing Hospital recovery room. There was a nursing school up the block, so a lot of girls came in. It was a
Okay.
pretty popular place.
So I guess you guys. What? You remember what your first date was?
We went to see Rocky.
No. Nice.
Rocky, yeah.
So I guess you guys dated for a while. How did you decide you wanted to get married? What was going through your head when you were like?
I really don't know. You know,
was it
your
just
mother-
like it happened at the time, or did?
Yeah, your mother kind of suggested it, and it wasn't It was planned, but she wasn't pregnant. It was on short notice. We had it.
That's always a good thing to know.
What?
It's like
No,
it
we
wasn't
didn't
a big
have
thing.
to get married.
Right.
That's what I meant.
I didn't think so.
So,
Hey,
she-
nobody
what are
has
you
to get
talking
married.
about?
You can always change towns.
Yeah. So we had the party in my mother's backyard,
Right.
and it was great. Everybody was happy. You know?
Yeah.
We had a caterer come in, and one of my brothers tended bar, but the caterer said, "This is how much beer you need, and this is how much liquor you need." Well, we ran out of liquor,
Yeah.
and we used 3 barrels of beer instead of a half a barrel.
Oh man, that's awesome. It's like this is how much like you think so.
Before I tell you that story, which I forgot already, I'm going to tell you this about. So, I'm standing outside talking to this friend of mine, and they used it all. Richard Widmark was there, Sophia Loren. They, not for that movie, but all different kinds of movies, because it was the perfect jail, police station.
Right, it worked visually. Yeah,
Exactly. That's, yeah. So, nobody, the cops didn't like Serpico. So, this cop, he was a traffic cop. They were in the building too.
Mhm.
So we're talking outside, and he was outside. This time when he's in the garage or something in the movie, it wasn't a long scene, but you hear, "Okay, everybody, we're going to start to roll this. Quiet on the set, quiet action, roll them." And then Danny Mulaney was standing next to. He says, you know, now it's dead quiet. And all of a sudden he says, "Yeah, this fucking guy I'm talking to." I asked for his license and registration. He tells me no. Cut!
that's awesome.
He did that like 3 or 4 times before I left. Because I think he was going to get caught.
Oh God, that's awesome.
But just to set up those scenes, you know.
yeah.
Another thing I did, I used to work on these movies when they needed extra cops to direct traffic. And
Okay.
like, not the French Connection. Was it the 7 Ups? Was
Okay.
like the sequel to the French Connection.
Okay.
And I had a big car chase through Manhattan. So you had to direct traffic as they came shooting through the streets 80, 90 miles an hour. You know.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. When they did Godspell, that movie in Central Park.
So, but when you, I mean, you did chase a guy down.
Oh,
though,
yeah.
once.
So one day in Central Park, they were short-handed all the time because there was really no crime in there. And that was the time they caught this guy, John Ball. He was a mounted cop growing grass at Central Park.
Nice.
And it was all a big thing for weeks. So anyway, they had these little Lambretta scooters that we used.
So, like, kind of like a Vespa.
A Vespa, yeah.
Okay.
And there was 5 or 6 of us. We were all around the same age. We were all Vietnam vets.
Were you rocking the aviators with the helmet and everything
Huh?
too? Did you have like aviator shades on to go with it on your?
So Central Park, the drive, which is 2 or 3 lanes all the way around.
Okay.
It's in the park, but around the perimeter. It's called East Drive, West Drive, North Drive.
Right.
And there's a few lights in it. So it was closed between, maybe it was open for lunch hour and then closed in the afternoon. So I see this guy driving a brand new Cadillac, a DeVille or something, you know.
Okay.
So I pull him over, and he said, he's dressed in a suit. He says, "I left my license at home. I don't have it with me." And I said, "Okay." So I said, "Where do you live?" He says, "Right up the block." So instead of giving him a summons or locking him up like a naive asshole, I said, "I'll follow you." in the scooter. So he takes off, and he goes up from Central Park West up to Amsterdam Avenue, makes a right. This is on 72nd Street. Goes up to 96th Street, makes a right turn, and then comes down Columbus Avenue. And around 75th Street, made a right turn, and he got stuck in traffic. But when he turned and I turned, there was this woman crossing with the baby, and she pushed the baby carriage. And I went
Oh my
between
God.
her and the baby carriage. So I'm really pissed off. So he's stuck.
Were there any guys like walking by with like a plate glass window and then like a fruit cart?
So anyway, he jams on his brakes and stops, and he stays in the car. I go up with the scooter, and I slide and it goes down and gets stuck underneath his car.
Oh man.
Oh, it gets stuck underneath one of the cars. So the traffic goes and the light changes. He gets stuck. I jump on the top of this car where four Puerto Ricans are driving, and I'm yelling, "Stop that motherfucker! Stop that cocksucker!" You know, any sense of law and justice was gone. I just wanted
Right.
to get this guy.
Right.
And helmet had fallen back. I'm choking me on the neck. So I finally got the guy and locked him up. And the car had been stolen from CBS, from their motor pool.
Oh wow.
That they kept over in 30 Rock. And they reported stolen. They collected from the insurance, and the insurance company doesn't prosecute.
Oh man.
So this guy just about walked. You know.
That's wild. You couldn't. They didn't.
Then I seen him about 6 months later. I swear to God, yeah.
Oh God.
I'm going to work, and it was early, and I'm walking up 32nd Street, 32nd Street.
Okay.
And Gimbel's was right there, Macy's, Herald Square. So I'm walking up the street, you know, I'm just like daydreaming because it was early. And who do I see walking down the street but this guy, you know?
Did you like see? Did you make eye contact with him? Were you guys aware
No, I
of
went
each
up to
other?
him and I gave him a hardest shoulder and elbow I could. He fell down. I just kept walking, and I turned around to see if he was going to do anything about it.
Oh man. Well, you know, I think yeah, you would imagine that like you guys could have just like resisting arrest. I mean, that seems like such like a BS charge that gets thrown around.
He did
now.
resist arrest.
Okay.
He got convicted of that. Maybe he went to jail for a couple of months. You know.
Right.
And when I went up to the precinct, the sergeant up there says, "What the fuck are you doing with this?" You know. I said, "What do you mean?" It's just motor scooters are not supposed to chase Cadillacs all through Manhattan.
Yeah.
You know?
But did you ever have
So
like
I was looking for a medal for it. You know, because of, and they said, "You're
Yeah,
lucky
like
you
a
don't get
lethal weapon situation. Like $6 million worth of damage. Kennedy, you're out of here. Give me your badge.
I did
and your
get
gun."
loose cannon, Kennedy. I did get sued.
Yeah.
And I took him down this road out.
God.
This road out in Pongo. I says, "Get out, Brendan." He goes, "For what?" And you know, this is how my mind was working. This is a joke.
This is my dad's sense of humor.
Get out of the car. He says, "For what?" I said, "Well, Brendan, the way things are, we don't really have enough food to feed everybody. We made a decision."
You picked the right one.
Yeah. And you're the one to go, so get out of the car.
Yeah.
You know, and the look that he had given me then, you know, I'll never forget, because I would never in a million years expect you to believe it, you know, or have that reaction, like, you know.
He secretly always knew. That's what that meant.
Another time.
It was like the saddest episode of the Wonder Years ever. And that's when my dad threw me out of the car.
Well, and the other time, we drove down Pungo when I was drinking, and we went down Muddy Creek Road, and when the moon isn't out down there, it is black.
Yeah, it's dark.
You can't see your hand in front of your house. So we're over there by Blue Pete's. I just stopped the car. Look how dark it is. I said, get out of the car and let's see.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to talk about is that you've had like a take two. You've had health issues. A couple of years ago, you had the heart surgery and you were in a coma for
1999. I had indigestion for a week, and I was so sure I had indigestion that I got up in the middle of the night, went to Food Lion, and ate a roll of Rolaids, and I felt fine. So that week I had a doctor's appointment. The doctor says he gave me an EKG, and this was just a routine checkup. He said, "Listen, I see something here I don't like." I said, "I want you to go up to the hospital and see the cardiologist." And 1999, I'm trying to think how old I was. Don't really matter. 52 was the same year my age.
Okay.
My father died. So I go up there, and this doctor says, he goes to he's calling the cath team right now. And she says, they all went home. He says, I don't give a fuck. Get them in here now. So I says, what's the matter? He says, you're having a heart attack. I said, that's not a heart, that's indigestion. I've had it all week. He says, no, you're having a heart attack.
I like that your life has made you so just like callous to this point. The doctor is like, you're having a heart attack. It's like, get out of here.
No, now, it has been since then.
Right.
So next thing I wake up, and I had 6 bypasses done. And your mother and Katie came in, and Katie started screaming. And it was just 2 nurses. And I says, I just had this weirdest dream. And I says, let's get a drink. Get another drink here. We'll have a drink while I tell you the story. And I started telling her, that was no dream. That was what really happened.
Oh, man.
Then 5 years later, I had the same symptoms, and I had 4 stents put in. And then 5 years after that, symptoms again, I was in the hospital, and they did a cath, and they said that they didn't want to take a chance at all.
And a cath would be a catheter where they stick a probe, I guess, in your leg and up through to your heart to
put
look
a
around?
stent if you need it. But I had already 4 stents. And then they said, and the guy that was going to do it said, I was talking with Dr. Kennison, and he says that maybe we should try to treat this with medication. So, or go see this guy, Kirk Fleischer, who's a doctor in the heart hospital, supposed to be pretty good. He had done 5 years in the Mayo Clinic and 10 years in Johns Hopkins, which are 2 of the best hospitals in the country.
Best cafeteria worker they had.
Yeah, so he was on TV and everything.
Oh, wow, okay.
It was a very impressive resume. So he says, he comes out, because I was in Virginia Beach, he comes out from Norfolk, and he still has his scrubs on, and he says, listen, I'll be honest with you. He says, you got about a 50-50 chance. He says, but I have to tell you that if it was one of my relatives, I would suggest that they do it. I give you the same advice, but I can't promise you anything. I go, what do you mean? He's like, I should have known the answer. So,
right.
So he does the operation, and I was in a coma for a month afterwards.
Yeah. And it was, like, I was telling him, like, the first time, it was just very strange to see, because I think after the first heart surgery you had, you were relatively with it afterward. And then this one, I guess, you were in such a state where they kept you under, and, seeing you on the life support machines, it was very, it was just disturbing to see somebody you love and care about like that. Well, and so having to see like a month, it was strange.
I had some terrible dreams there, and my wife tells me I had to use the defibrillator on me about 15 times. So I was like technically dead or dying. And that's why I part of the reason I think I'm my speeches, and I can't remember what
right.
Except for it's like really contradictory with it. And I go over to the VA hospital, and I have a psychiatrist over there. I go there for PTSD. I got to see him every 3 months. So I tell him, "Am I getting Alzheimer's or what?" He says, "Oh, we really can't tell until you're dead, and we do an autopsy."
That's
so
helpful.
He says, "But I wouldn't be surprised with all the shit you've had. You don't have some kind of dementia."
Holy crap!
So, with that in mind, and I've seen another doctor there in the VA, and she told me that I don't know. I says, "Is this normal or what?" She goes, "No, it's definitely not normal." She says, "But I'll tell you, God has a purpose for you." And just around then, Juliana was born or whatever. And I truly believe now that there is a God, and that's why I'm kept alive for her, to be her father figure or whatever.
Right on.
And for me, because I get a tremendous amount of enjoyment, and her too. So that's a happy ending to it. And although I said to Caitlin one day, I says, in 10 years, I hope she's not like you. She says, well, if she's like me in 10 years, you're going to wish you were dead.
Oh, man. I guess we're coming up on this time here, and I feel bad because we completely forgot to talk about the show you did
That's
on
fine.
Saturday.
Let's talk about this.
Talk
It's
about
good. I had fun. I'm glad it's over. I think
you humble son of a bitch. You had it was a packed house, nearly a fire hazard. They had to bring in seats from other theaters.
It was definitely a fire. I don't think it was a nearly. It was definitely a fire hazard.
How did you feel? Were you? I would imagine you were nervous, but did you ever stand there and were the people laughing all the time?
Yeah, they were laughing the whole time. Yeah, I mean it was they were phenomenal. The crowd was better than I was, which is good.
I seen a guy on Johnny Carson one night flop.
Yeah,
and this guy was pitiful. He got, not that he wasn't funny, just the first thing he said, he was so overwrought with his nervousness that he ceased being funny.
Well, I think from like a comedy standpoint, it used to be like you would go on the Tonight Show, and like the first time you did it, if you did okay, maybe you would be invited a second time, and if the second time you got to sit on the couch next to Johnny, then oh boy, and like, I think it was like 5 times you're on the Tonight Show, and then the comedy formula was then you got your own sitcom.
Yeah, or whatever, you got paid a book, so you got paid.
Yeah. Oh, it was a big deal. Like just getting on was a big deal.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But yeah, dude, you killed it, and everybody was happy to like.
That was my favorite part, was just seeing everyone in one place, all having a good time, and some people who I've known but maybe haven't seen me perform, or some people only see me like once a year. So I enjoyed that as much as anything.
Well, it's nice that everybody showed up.
Yeah, it was great. There's a bunch of people. Some people I didn't necessarily expect to come, so that was fun.
Brendan had the thing, I didn't go.
He was outstanding. That was the best I've ever seen him.
I got it recorded though, so I'm gonna. That's actually this episode is probably going to be airing like a week late or so, and the reason is I got the video recorded for me by our friend Abby. And
who helped record mine too. She's awesome.
Yeah, so the episode we recorded last week is on my hard drive, and she has it. So yeah,
so make a copy for me.
Yeah, no, I have the audio. I'll be able to burn to a CD sometime soon. So
because there's a couple of guys up there in AA that I told them that you do comedy, and they said, "Oh yeah, they'd like to go."
Right on. So looking back on you, what do you? Well, looking forward, what kind of stuff? What are your plans? Just
stay alive.
Yeah.
Like I say to your mother a lot, I says, it's a shame that we have Juliana, in one respect, because you don't really have to work. And we could travel around or something. But with her, it's pretty much for full time.
Right.
Yeah.
And she goes to school in the morning, and I get like a couple hours, and she's home.
Yeah.
I get tired a lot, so I can't do much without after taking a nap.
Right.
They always say, "Oh, can't you wait till the golden years?"
Yeah.
I went up to New York, and Joe Monahan says to me, "So what do you think of these fucking golden?"
That's awesome.
It's true.
No, tell me again though. I think you told me one story about like Joe as you brought him up. I guess he used to, because you were a cop, but some of your friends that you had were not law abiding. Yeah. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
He was a criminal. He was an armed robber. That's what he did. He was
a stick-up guy.
Stick-up artist. And he was a very impressive guy. He was good-looking, dressed well.
Good kisser?
I never kissed him on the lips. But and he was a tough guy. He came into the bar one time and he was drinking, and there was this guy Gil was his name, and he was burnt out. I don't know if from Vietnam or what, but he had one of these hand puzzles that 1 to 16 or something.
Okay.
I
don't know what you're talking about.
The little, not like Rubik's Cube, but it's something so you got to move these numbers around.
Oh yeah, it's like a little flat thing you have to move. Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Space.
Yeah.
So Gil goes up to Jimmy and says, look what I did. And he looks at him and he's drunk and he takes it and he just fucking goes, get the fuck away from me.
Didn't you say like he robbed a guy once and then said like...
Oh yeah. He used to have a guy that would set them up for 10%. 10% of the job he would do all the legwork. So coming from Queens, going over the 59th Street Bridge, there's Queens Boulevard and Northern Boulevard all merge into 2 lanes to go over, or for half of what was there to go over to the Manhattan, over the 59th Street Bridge. So there was a guy used to go there and make a bank deposit every morning for the week. So that's the guy they're going to rob. So he goes up, and the guy's getting out of the car, and he sticks the gun in his back or whatever. He's getting in the back seat. Give me that fucking bag. He takes the bag. He says, if you stick your head up, within 5 minutes, I'm going to fucking blow it off. You know? So he goes to run away, and the traffic is so bumper to bumper.
Yeah.
He can't move anywhere. He's stuck there. So about a minute goes by, and he's looking around, and the guy sticks his head up, and he goes back. What the fuck did I tell you? Quick thinking.
Yeah.
But he's reformed. He got a job working the steam fitters. He got in the union, and he fell and broke his back and confined to a wheelchair.
But he's, I mean, how is he, 70?
75, I think.
Yeah, but you would never know it. His attitude is...
Oh, yeah. He's the type of guy that has so much charisma that it's the type of guy you want to be around under any circumstance.
And he's definitely the kind of person that seems to live the most out of life.
Yeah, he does.
So...
Yeah, we went out camping once, and he come out with his van, and he had a futon in the back that he pulled out and slept on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it didn't slow him down much.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks for coming out. Was this was this fun for you, or was it just boring?
Yeah, you're so needy. You're so
no.
Was it okay, Daddy? Did I do good?
Well, no, I'm thinking about this because, on the way here, yesterday I went out to my parents' house, and he's like, what am I doing tomorrow? Who's going to be there? Well, what's going on? And I'm kind of like...
I had no concept of what this is. I don't know if cursing was appropriate or not.
You're fine.
And,
it was good when we were walking up the house, and he's like, who's this fucking guy looking at me? That's fun. That's good. I'm like, all right, we're going to have a good time.
I knew who you were.
Yeah, I figured.
just said that for your benefit, for a laugh. And sometimes I get in trouble because I say things. You know, you have New York humor is a lot different than down here, and alcoholics down here are a lot different from up in New York.
Yeah,
you know, I'll go to an AA meeting and I'll say something I think is hysterical.
Yeah,
and it's like an exaggeration or
hyperbole.
I don't know what that means. An absurdity.
Yeah, that
I'll say, and everybody looks around and they go, huh? You know, is this guy serious or what? You know?
Well, thanks for doing this.
Pleasure.
I've joked around. Wasibia has made fun of me before because obviously you have an interesting life, and I'll say he's laughed at me before because I said, oh yeah, my dad's a New York City police officer for 23 years, and so it became, I guess I said it often enough.
You said it's so, you couldn't say my dad. It was like, you wouldn't be about that at all.
Yeah.
You're like, my dad, he was in New York City cop. Like, really? Tell me, Brendan. You've never told me once before.
Well, I'll tell you something right now, before you close this down, that a year from now, and I never thought when I was in AA for a year, and I look at different periods of my life and look back a year or two, and I said to myself, I could never, in any sense of my imagination, imagine that I would be sitting here where I am today 2 years ago.
Right.
And I'm down here 21 years, and, you know, the time just flew by. And I can't imagine how I ever ended up down here.
Right.
You know. But that's the way life is. So the secret is, if you're not happy, stick with it, because things always change. That's the one constant thing.
Change. Well, like I said, I really appreciate you doing this, and know that you are full of many interesting stories, and you have tons more.
One more thing.
Oh,
I have tons more for any girls that are interested. And Brendan will give you my cell phone number, and just text me to start off. And I'm serious.
Nice. So that's my dad. He doesn't do don't look him up on Facebook. He has enough friends. I'll look him up on Facebook. You're on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Edward Kennedy. You're not on Twitter though.
No, I got a flip phone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I'm not,
Yeah.
I don't,
You're old school.
Yeah, and like I'm an old fuck.
It's vintage.
That I used to say about my father and grandparents. Now, again, that's you only recognize that through going through life. It's one of life's experiences. Being old, and your mother calls me an old grump.
Well,
fuck you.
Well, I know you are on Facebook. If you want, you can look us up, and we actually created a page for this. So you just have to type in "What's a Podcast." That's the name of the podcast.
What's the name?
What's a Podcast?
What's or once?
What's a Podcast?
WHAT
Apostrophe S.
apostrophe S.
A podcast.
Pod, as in Peapod.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You got that, everybody?
Yes. And if you are on Twitter, if you're not an old fuck, you can look up at What's a Podcast, and we have tweets from there. If you have an Android or iPhone or whatever, you can download Stitcher, which will let you stream this podcast, and you can always just subscribe on iTunes if you like to do that sort of thing. C.B. Wilkins, you've been so fucking talkative this whole time. Just shut up already.
This is my best podcast.
You never asked him many questions.
That's good. We're here to talk to you.
Yeah.
They know me.
I felt like I was hogging the time.
That's good. You should have.
Yeah.
That's the way it should have been.
Exactly. Thanks so much for doing this.
You're on Twitter at Brent Kennedy. I'm on Twitter at CB Wilkins Tweets. Yep.
And this is this week's episode. So thanks for downloading it, and you guys will hear from us next week. Thanks. Bye.